Hey, Mike. So today we're wrapping up our Social Security series by looking at some case studies and talking about how we think about helping someone decide when to claim. We've got three different situations that couples may find themselves in.
Yeah, I think these are a good representation of the complexity of the decision and how you can think about it. And sorry to the single folks, we're mainly dealing with couple situations here because the single side is relatively straightforward. It's just based on whether you want to maximize for longevity or not. So, but yeah, these are good case studies, and looking forward to running through them with you.
Welcome to Operation Retirement Readiness, where Amy and Mike, two certified financial planners, talk about how military members can prepare for transition and how veterans can prepare for ultimate retirement. This podcast represents the views of the hosts and any guest. It is for informational purposes only and should not be considered tax, financial, or legal advice. All information is regarded to be from reliable sources. The hosts are not responsible for any losses, damages, or liabilities that may arise from the use of this podcast. This podcast is not intended to replace professional advice.
So we've got three situations couples may find themselves in. Now, these situations aren't going to cover your situation exactly, so you have to do your homework because no case study is going to completely approximate what you've got going on in your life.
Yeah, very a personal decision. Some people may, again, look to maximize for longevity risk. Others may say, "I want my money right away." So, we'll dive into these three cases and talk about them. But it's really personal, as you said. And Amy, you want to just give a kind of overview of the spousal? I know we covered it in the previous podcast, but just to refresh everybody.
Yeah. So, as we talked about in one of the earlier podcasts, when you have a married couple, so both spouses can claim on their benefit. If they both claim at full retirement age, if there's a lower earning spouse that was, they earn much less than the other spouse, then, they're going to claim their benefit, but then their benefit's actually going to plus up. It's going to be increased to 50% of the higher earning spouses because it's based on that spousal record. So you've got the benefit coming off your record. And if that's less than 50% of what would come off your spouse's record, then it's increased to that amount. So 50% of your spouses. Did I about get it?
Yep. And you hit the key is at that full retirement age. As we talked about before, you can claim anywhere between 62 and 70. And so really understanding that if the lower earning spouse claims at 62, and the higher earning spouse has already claimed, that they'll still get the same plus up, but it'll be based on their lower claiming rate. So it won't be the full 50%. And a lot of people get confused on that and are like, well, just have the lower earning spouse claim as soon as possible, but that will result in a reduction and not that full 50%. And then the second piece of the couple's decision is also the survivor benefit. So what that is when you have a married couple, when the first spouse dies, the basically the benefit continues at that higher earning spouse. So if the higher earning spouse dies first, the lower earning spouse will continue to get that higher earning spouse's benefit. And so that's the other thing you need to think about when you're doing the couple's decision for that. So, anything else that we need to recap before we dive into the scenarios?
No, I think that gets gets back to the basics that we've already gone through. Let's go ahead and start into scenario number one.
All right. So our couple, Jack and Jill, are both 60. Looking forward to probably retiring in about 2 years when they're both 62. They've both consistently worked, and their benefits are pretty close. Jack's benefit as his full retirement age is expected to be about 2,800, and Jill's expected benefit at her full retirement age is projected to be about 3,000. So only about a $200 difference there. So, what are your thoughts in that situation?
Yeah, yeah. So, for this, we don't have to get into the spousal benefit. So the 50%, that's not really a consideration here because Jack is already going to get more than half of Jill's $3,000 full retirement age benefit. So the things that you might consider around this decision is, do you have enough assets to delay claiming until age 70? And if you do, then typically we think about having the spouse with the higher benefit delay for as long as possible. So in this case, maybe we recommend that Jill delays until age 70. Um, and then for Jack, it kind of depends. There's lots and lots of factors going on, but he could either delay until full retirement age or maybe even age 70, depending on how many assets they have and whether they have a lot of money in traditional IRAs. Um, and the reason there is because if you delay Social Security a little bit longer, if you have big traditional IRAs or big pre-tax 401k or retirement plan, thrift savings plan money, if you have a lot of it, then delaying Social Security could give you more opportunity to do Roth conversions. So that's kind of how I think about it, Mike. What about you?
Yeah, I agree, Amy. I view Social Security as longevity protection first and foremost, and I try to get that over to clients that they think the same way. It just gives you that extra, protection from running out of money. If you die early and maybe you didn't get back all the money that contributed, you're dead. So, I mean, at that point, it doesn't really matter in the big scheme of things. So, yeah, I'm a fan of delaying, especially the higher earning spouse, because likely that could continue longer even than that first spouse is alive. So, definitely longevity protection is what I optimize for.
Yeah, and it's interesting, because a lot of people, the way they want to attack this decision is, okay, what's my break even point, and am I going to live that long? And by break even, if you give up, Social Security for a period of time, in, in exchange for that higher benefit, when does it become more advantageous for waiting? And I think you make a really great point with the longevity protection. It's less about gaming the system and more about making sure that your needs are going to be met throughout retirement, which includes, if we happen to, if your financial planner builds you a plan out through age 95, what if you live to 105? So, and of course we have no way of knowing, and there's plenty of time to adjust the plan and things like that. But I think you make a really good point about longevity protection and that factoring into the decision and not just the break even point or, claiming early because you don't want Social Security to run out of benefits before you have a chance. And then the other thing I would just say is that even if you're going to retire early, and you could claim at 62, you don't have to do both. You don't have to retire and then claim as early as possible. It makes a lot of sense to see how your Social Security claiming strategy best supports your financial plan and all of the facts in your case.
Yeah, that's great. So I think we wrapped up number one. What's number two?
Okay, so for scenario number 2, in this case, Jack is 67 and he just retired. He's married to Jill, who's 61, and she's going to work 2 more years. Jack has the higher earnings history. His benefit at full retirement age is $3,200, and at age 70 is about $3,950. Jill's expected benefit at her full retirement age is $1,100. What are your thoughts, Mike?
All right. So this one definitely is a little more complicated. Spousal benefits are in play here because, again, Jill's benefit is less than half of Jack's. So just looking at that, if they both go to full retirement age, uh, Jill would get 1,600. That would be the 50%. So basically it's a $500 additional top up that she gets from the spousal piece. The age difference makes it interesting. Jill working a few more years. So in this one, I'd again say Jack should delay, at least until Jill retires and probably all the way until 70 to get that full benefit. Um, Jill's claiming strategy, again, if she claims early, say, when she retires at 63, it'll be, reduced a little bit. But the other thing they've got going, Jack's, there's a decent age gap there, and typically men die earlier, so a lot of time, that survivor benefit is going to come into play. So this will be one that you'd want to run through a calculator to kind of figure out, what's the difference between Jill wait until 67 or claiming at 63 or 65 or somewhere in there, and how much of a reduction is it really to kind of come up with that. But in general, I'd definitely say Jack should extend because he's gonna, that benefit is likely to continue much longer, and that just gives Jill additional money if Jack dies first. How about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, in a situation like this, I would be hard pressed to recommend that Jack claim any earlier than 70, because he's quite a lot older than her. Men typically don't live as long as women on average, and so having him wait. So to me, the Jack part of this equation is somewhat straightforward, unless there's other considerations that we haven't included in this case study. I'd be hard pressed to have him claim any earlier than 70. So to me, the wild card in this equation is figuring out the best time for Jill to claim. And a lot of that honestly has to do with, additional assets that are available. Are there pensions? Um, and it does come down to philosophy at some point. So again, to your point, definitely have to run her situation through a calculator, but I would probably control for, meaning just assume that Jack's going to claim at 70 because he's older and his benefits so much higher, in case he passes away before her. Um, how about case study number 3, Mike?
All right. So this one's similar but opposite. Jill's 55. She's the higher earner. Her expected full retirement age benefit is 3,200 this time. Again, that would be 3,950 at 70. Jack's 61 with an expected benefit of 1,100. And one additional point: Jill's retired military. Jack would get the SBP at 40%. So of Jill's retirement. So what are your thoughts around a situation like that?
Yeah, so this one's a little bit more complex, right? Because the higher earner is younger. And so the key takeaway here is that Jack will not be eligible for the spousal benefit until Jill claims. So, if they want to go for longevity protection, Jill can delay until 70. But it likely doesn't make sense for Jack to delay beyond full retirement age. He can claim his full retirement age benefit for, a good, say, 9 years, if Jill delays until 70. So a little bit more complex here. And, whenever the higher earner is younger, that's just how it works out. But again, taking into account all the other facts and circumstances around this case. What about you, Mike? What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think you pretty much hit them. Other than again, these are a lot of these situations, pretty much all the situations that a person has, is complex. You want it integrated into your total financial plan. There are some, kind of standalone Social Security calculators out there that can tell you, hey, this is how you can kind of maximize, or this is the best claiming strategy. Uh, you know, Specifically for that, I encourage you to look for them. Some of them are paid and not too expensive, and then there are some free ones out there also. But again, that all needs to be integrated into a total financial plan, and that's and then there are other decisions that factor into claiming. Um, and so, why don't we talk a little bit about those also, Amy? Um, what are your
Yeah.
thoughts on some other things that might go into just instead of the straight numbers piece?
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I think we did hit some of them, but you know, ages of the spouse. So we went through that with the last two case studies, ages of the spouse. So who's older, by how much, and is the higher earner older or younger? So age is one. Health health status. So if you know, for example, that you have a terminal illness, that could factor in and change all the calculus. So maybe all the rules are different. If you know for certain that one spouse has a terminal illness, or if there's a family history of early passing. Now you can't hang your hat on that because anything can happen. But that's another consideration. How about you, Mike? Do you have a couple?
Yeah, I'd say, again, other assets. Some people are going to need to claim Social Security as soon as they stop working, just because they may not have a pension or may not have saved enough, and so those two decisions are tied together. So that's an important one. And then the tax piece is always another thing to consider. We talked about it in one of the earlier shows about, you can claim Social Security at 62 and still be working, but it reduces how much you're actually going to get. And it's fairly complicated, but just understanding the tax implications of the claiming decision is important. Um, Anything else, Amy?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that, a lot of people, the calculators are very helpful. The Social Security calculator is very helpful, but keeping in mind that the point of the calculator is to help you maximize Social Security. If your goal is to get the most you possibly can out of Social Security, that's great. Those calculators are great. But if you have different goals, and you want to maximize those goals, then you need to figure out not necessarily maximizing Social Security. I do a lot of plans where taking a slightly less Social Security, different than the optimized Social Security strategy, is actually better for the overall plan. So keep that in mind, and keep your goals, your personal goals, firmly in mind as you make this decision. And then the only other thing that I would add is that, as we wrap up this series, there's a lot of Social Security benefits that we really didn't hit on over the last few episodes. There's disability benefits, there's benefits for divorced couples, there's benefits for children and families if there's a big age difference, or there's younger kids and there's an early death. And then there's options around survivor benefits if someone dies. So much more to get into, but we focus primarily on the retirement benefits of Social Security.
Yeah, that's a great point. Again, a lot of those are beyond the scope of a retirement podcast, but for folks out there, it's good to know that those are available and they should be aware. And if they're ever in that situation, they need to look into those.
Awesome.
So, yeah, I think that about wraps it up. So, hopefully, folks found this interesting. Maybe they haven't thought about Social Security too much, again, other than when the reports come out and say it's going to run out of money each year. So hopefully this helped frame that decision for folks as they approach retirement.
Awesome. It was good chatting with you, Mike. Take care.
All right. Bye.
To get transcripts, show notes, or more information, go to operationretirementreadiness.com. Have a question or topic for the podcast? Send it to info@operationretirementreadiness.com. Find out more about Amy and Mike at their websites. Mike is the founder of Next Mission Financial Planning, LLC. He retired from the U.S. Air Force and has worked in the financial services sector since 2021. He is a certified financial planner, chartered financial consultant, and a certified college financial consultant. You can find out more about Mike at nextmissionfinancialplanning.com. Amy is the founder of Instar Financial Planning, LLC. She is retired from the U.S. Army and has worked in the financial services sector since 2019. She's a certified financial planner, a chartered federal employee benefits counselor, and a chartered retirement planning counselor. You can find out more about Amy at instarfp.com.